Well, first of all, congratulations on setting a real goal that matters to you, because it's not just about the weight, it's about how you're going to feel, right? It's not just how you look. I know some people are driven by that. There's nothing wrong with that. But to me, early in my body career, so to speak, I remember when I was in my really early 20s and I was like, I'm going to have a six pack and I'm going to be such a stud. And I spent hours and hours staring myself in the mirror so that I would look good and working out so hard. And I built all that shit. But you know what I noticed? Bending down, I hurt my back to pick something up. It's just like I was overworking certain muscles. You build your biceps, and then if you don't take care of the lower part of your back, you have back pain. You're out of balance. And so I'm a big hulking guy, my ego, a little 20-year-old stupid ass is what I was. And so one day I was like hurting so much, and I was like, man, I work out so hard. How come I'm in pain all the time? I'm always getting injured. And I was like, well, because I'm overtraining to try to create these super goals, and then I get there, and what do I got? I can look at myself, or I can be proud of myself. Nothing wrong with that. But I thought my highest priority is energy, because energy is the source of life. That's why I wanted to do this little session for you this morning. Energy is what makes a relationship go. Without energy, you're not going to have passion in your relationship. You're just too tired. You barely make it through the day. Without energy, you can't be a great parent. Without energy, you can't run a great business, or more than one. Without energy, you're not going to earn what you really deserve. So I decided I want to have more energy than any human could imagine. And so I started studying everything I could possibly do to create the energy, which includes muscle development and strength, but all of it in balance. So I love that you're going for the physical goal, whatever the poundage is that you want to change, but let's make sure you do it healthfully. And what you're going to do at the event is a whole day on this. So we're going to go through every tool that can make that change. Plus, we do this process called the Dickens pattern. It's one of the most powerful parts of the 4 days. It's about 4 hours long. It is a incredibly intense process and incredibly enjoyable. But what we're going to do is find out what's stopping you. Because let's be honest, how many of you out there have some beliefs that limit you and you know better, like they're not really true, but they still get you emotionally and stop you? Who's got some of these out there? Raise your hand if you say I. Say I. I think your purpose continues to expand. When I became a father overnight to 3 children because I adopted them and then a young man on the way, that changed my sense of purpose. It added to it, right? So I think making the purpose so big makes you afraid to make a decision. And when you say, I really don't know what I want to do with my life, what you're really saying to me is, I'm in a state of uncertainty, Tony. And so sitting at home and trying to deal with this in a state of uncertainty is not going to get you there. So what you need is to train yourself with certainty. It's like when you think of a Michael Jordan or a LeBron James or any great athlete, when they stand and they walk towards you, you can just feel that sense of certainty. When somebody hands them the ball, you can sense their absolute certainty it's going to go in. Even if it doesn't, they're certain it's going to. Certainty is the core of leadership, right? If all hell's breaking loose and people are like, oh my God, what do I do? And you look at the leader and they go, I don't know, what do you think? It doesn't inspire confidence. But if everybody's freaking out and it's not BS, you say, move, I'll handle it. And everybody goes, holy shit, that's somebody I want to do business with. That's somebody I want to work with because they can feel it. But certainty is a habit, and so is doubt and uncertainty. So one of the things we're going to do over all 4 days that people come out of the event talk about is man, I took action because there's no hesitancy in me because I wasn't in a fear state. A fear state is an uncertain state, isn't it? Versus knowing.
See, the thing we got to realize is we got to control our physiology. So throughout this day, as last time, I want you to remember to live at level 10. You remember what that means? Living at level 10 means what you got to do is ask yourself on a scale from 0 to 10, where's my level of energy? 0 is dead, 10 is unstoppable. Which level is going to allow you to get more out of this weekend? Which one? 10, without a doubt. If nothing else happens from you coming to these fortune programs, but every time you get here, you demand from yourself for 4 days to live at level 10. You think you might develop a little stronger emotional muscle, yes or no? And pretty soon what used to be hard to do, like demanding 10, is the way you live. It's easy. It's like you can live that way easy, no problem. And now you go home and you live at that level. Does that impact your patients, yes or no? Does that impact each other in the office, yes or no? Does it impact your home life? Does that impact those ecstasy ideas we had about the relationship at home? Yes. See, if you're level 10 every time with your personal relationship, would that enhance it, yes or no? So how do you determine whether you're at 10 or not? You decide to go there, and the way you decide to go there is you got to ask yourself on a regular basis, where am I? See, I found the more you measure something, the better it gets. But if you don't measure it, you're not going to do well. If you set a goal on New Year's Eve and then you check next New Year's, you're in trouble because you had one correction. It was at the end of the year and it was too late. Once a month, you got a better chance. Once a week, you can really have it. Once a day, you won't have a bad year, you won't have a bad month. The worst you have is a bad day. The more we measure, the better we get. So what we've got to do is ask ourselves, where are we on a scale from 0 to 10? Where are you right now on a scale from 0 to 10? Sit right now like you would if you're at level 10.
So in the experience of looking to make those changes and looking at how to change, same thing in relationships, couples that are gone, the films that I wanted to make with Chloe said, let's not make films with couples that have troubles. Let's make couples that look like they've gone beyond the edge. By anybody's estimate, there's no way to turn it around. Because by that extreme, when someone watches the film, they look at their own life and they go, oh my God, these people can do it. And they did here, I could do it too. That's the contrast we want. But the basis of all that I do comes down to knowing that the difference in your life, your relationship, your physical life, your emotional life, any aspect of your life comes down to this sense of psychological strength or emotional fitness. And what I mean by that is this. Let's go straight to relationship for a second. What is relationship really about? Intimate relationship. Well, other than a friendship, the only difference between a friendship and an intimate relationship should be intimacy, which is why we call it love and passion. So just hanging out together for the sake of the kids is not something we're talking about here. Now, if you're going to have that incredible relationship, it's all based on emotion. It isn't based on logic. When you fall in love with somebody, you don't make a checklist and go, I like this, hate that, this is good, hate that, this is good, don't like that. How do you fall in love? What do? You focus on every little thing you could possibly like or love about this person, and you fully associate to it every way, and you tell all your friends until you make them sick, right? And you're talking about him, you're thinking about this person, I love when she does this, I love when he does that, that's an amazing, and you're talking about him, you're thinking about him, and you put whole bottles of cologne on, and in the middle of the night, you take extra showers, in the middle of the night, you're thinking about him, you call him up, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you go, I was just thinking about you, sorry to call so late, but were you thinking about me? And they say yes, and you're like, ah. Who's been there? Raise your hand and say, I. Yes. Now, if you're not raising your hand, we really have problems for you at this stage, right? So what's interesting is that experience, how long does it last? That was really a long, quiet answer to that one. Can it last forever? Yes or no? Yes or no? Notice I got people that work with people in their relationships saying, no, that's not encouraging. Yes, because many people in this field think, oh no, that's a phase in the relationship. That phase, where everything is just la la la, beautiful, and having that expectation is, that's what's wrong with people. They need to lower their expectation and get realistic about marriage. That is not what it's about. I want to tell you something. I've spent the last 20 years of my life interviewing people that are having amazing relationships, who've been together 20, 30, and 40 years, and they don't just hang out, they love each other, and they're passionate for each other. Passionate. I interviewed a couple that came to one of my seminars. It wasn't a relationship seminar. And they're at one program I called Date with Destiny that I do. It's a 6-day program. And for 5 days in a row, this couple sat in the front row. He was 92 years old. She is 89. And they were playing so full out. I mean, so full out, because my seminars are not about just sitting and listening. We do stuff. But during any break or sense of a break, they were touching each other, holding each other, and it was getting out of control. It was like, get a room. And so, it was really tough, and they kept being in the front row. I was a little distracted here, So finally I stopped everything I was doing, and I said, I want to interview you two. Come up here on stage. And I brought them on stage, got 2 chairs, and I said, I want to understand something. I said, you guys have been married how many years? 52 years. That's amazing. Now, clearly you love each other, but it appears you also love each other. And they said, oh, yes. And I said, you guys seem to have a lot of passion for each other. And they both said, oh, yes, of course. I said, what's the secret to your 52 years? And the lady said, well, you can't just love, gotta touch. And everybody cracked up, And I said, well, so you still at this age have great physical passion? They said, of course. And he said, oh my God, I live for it. He's 92, right? And I said, well, what's the secret to your physical passion? And she said, well, we try anything once, and if we like it, we do it again. I thought, okay, that's good. So if you think about a relationship, other than the maintenance of some responsibility, people today in our society won't do things just for responsibility. They've been taught to focus on themselves, unfortunately. And while we all have to have a sense of responsibility, what's even greater, it's like discipline. Discipline never works long term. Never. What works
is when you become addicted to something positively new. You trade one addiction for another. When you shift from having to doing something to wanting to do something. So our focus is how to make that happen.
And I think that it's a mistake to underestimate the importance of that, because I don't think that you can live a life of sufficient profundity to protect yourself from being corrupted by suffering and malevolence without adopting a responsibility that's commensurate with that set of ideas. I think that you either orient yourself upward, to the star above the horizon, and try desperately to improve the structure of being, or you work at counter purposes to it and make things worse.
And yes, love is the answer, love is the key, but if you can't love yourself, how can you ever love? And loving yourself, what does that even mean? Like massages and selfies and that sort of thing? Because the more I think about it, the more it feels weird. I've always been taught that self-love was something to be feared. I've been taught that arrogance is bad and vanity it's not good. What should I do? How should I act? I'm supposed to love myself, but how do I even do that?
Every ideal is a judge, and that makes perfect sense, because an ideal is something to which you aspire, and the gap between you and that ideal, if it's your ideal, is felt as judgment. And so that's one of the reasons people are very afraid to have an ideal. That's why I wrote, do not hide things in the fog. It's like, well, you should lay out an ideal. You should pursue an ideal. Why wouldn't you? Well, when you make your ideal explicit, it turns into your judge. Well, then you can listen to that judge and move forward and transform.
What happens within you if it's determined by somebody else? This is the worst form of slavery.
And the stronger the emotion we feel to some circumstance in our life, the more we pay attention to it. And where we place our attention is where we place our energy. So we're giving our life force, we're giving our power away to that circumstance.